Okay. Roll call.
Called to order at 6:30. Mrs. Salzer,
Here.
Mrs. Egan,
Here.
Ms. Davenport,
Present.
Mr. Hillman,
Present.
Oh, he does.
Mrs. Callan,
Here.
Mrs. Lammel,
Here.
Mrs. Petropoulos is absent.
Okay, everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. We have with us tonight, we have our entire administrative team along with Sammy. And we also have Corey Boaz from Studio GC and Lisa Lockwood from Crest. So thank you for joining us this evening. You want to move on to the consent agenda?
Yes.
Unmute.
No, we need to get rid of this stuff. Okay, consent agenda. We have minutes of the March 9th, 2021 open session and closed session meetings for approval, and then a number of bills, vouchers that were listed for payment. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
she was an aye. Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammel,
Aye.
Davenport,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer. And Mrs. Salzer.
Oh, yes. I'm missing a page here. Yeah, superintendent's report, please. Never mind.
Once again, good evening, everyone. It seems like it's been a long time since we've had a chance to get together in a board meeting. I hope those of you who had a spring break had a nice and relaxing one. And I'm going to go ahead and jump us right into the agenda here. First off, we have our enrollment report for March 2021 was 1,430 students. This is a decrease of 11 students from last month and a decrease of 49 students last year. We are starting to see a little bit of movement in terms of students moving, which we haven't seen most of the year, but we are starting to see some more people move from time to time. 3.2 under vacant positions and possible staffing needs. Really right now at this point, we are looking forward to our registration, which begins, our online registration begins next Monday, April 19th, and really trying to get a feel for what our classes could look like next year. So we're waiting to see how those numbers come in, and we'll have those numbers for the board as soon as we do get them. Under 3.3, our summer school ramp-up program. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, looking to see what we can do for our students who have really struggled a little bit this year, and we want to make sure that we put them in a good place to succeed to begin next year. We also want to balance that knowing that our teachers, our students, and our families have had a really, really difficult year this year in terms of just getting completely wiped out from dealing with things you don't have to deal with in a normal school year. So we talked about, do we have a full summer school program all summer long, basically as soon as school ends and leading up until school starts? And we don't feel like this is the year to do that, but we did want to make sure that we had something. So we're looking the first 2 weeks in August, Monday through Friday, those first 2 weeks from 9 till noon, having that ramp up program. And what we're doing is we're talking with the teachers right now to see who would be interested. We have about 14 to 16 teachers right now who have shown interest in it. We're hoping that we can get that number a little bit higher, but it is nice to see that we already have that many who are interested in working this summer. And looking around 10 kids per grade level at each of the elementary schools, and that is not a fixed number by any means. Again, it will really determine how many teachers we have. We want to keep the class sizes pretty reasonable so they can get a lot of one-on-one attention. And then at the junior high, hopefully get as many as 20 in each of the grade levels. And then we'd also have some special ed things and some EL going on as well. Our focus would definitely be on reading and math and making sure kids also get out and move a little bit. Sitting in a classroom for 3 hours in the summer, if it's a nice day out, we want them outside and moving for part of that. Right now, we're going through it and really looking what our best options are for curriculum for those 2 weeks in reading and math. And that would be for this school year leading into the year. But then next summer, really launching a much larger program that would be more your 5 weeks, 4 days a week type thing when hopefully we can go through more of a normal school year next year. We're looking at a stipend for our teachers for $2,500, and their day, they would be asked to come from 8:15 to 12:30. So it's 4 hours, 15 minutes a day. We'd also have an additional 2 days of professional development before the summer program started. And a typical student day would come in at 9, have about an hour and a half of English language arts, reading, writing, some time to really just get outside and move, and then about an hour of math each day. So that's what we're looking for. You'll see a lot of that information spelled out in your packet. We are looking for just kind of approval to move forward with the summer program with the $2,500 stipend. And we're also going to look to have some subs in case a teacher becomes sick and isn't able to fill. So we'd have a sub pool to fill that in for a couple people. Does anyone have any questions on our summer ramp up program? All right, I'm going to move on to 3.4, which is summer professional development with a group called All Things Literacy. And it's with a consultant that I have worked with before and works with multiple districts in the area, works with the ISC4 as well. Her name is Kelly Dubeck, and she's from All Things Literacy. And what we really want to focus on for this professional development is looking at our literacy standards, looking at our literacy assessments, and making sure everything is aligning all the way through from K all the way up through 8th. And so we're looking at about 10 separate days of professional development and breaking those up into grade level strands. And we would start that in June. It would be Tuesdays and Thursdays in June. And we're getting the exact time, but I do envision something like 9 to 3, maybe one group come in the morning, one group come later in the afternoon to look through those. And then we would do 2 days in July as well. Because if you look at what we have in the packet, the original dates, we were still in school for the first 2 dates. So we would do that after the 4th of July. Like I said, I've worked with Kelly on numerous different curriculum areas. Been very impressed with her. The superintendents I've talked with who have her this year, their teachers have been really happy to have her help, and I'm excited to bring her on. So we'll be looking for approval for that later in the meeting today as well. Any questions on All Things Literacy? All right, 3.5 is one that I know a lot of people have interest in, and I'm sure anyone watching at home with 8th graders has interest in, and that is our 8th grade graduation. I felt like Findlay Junior High did a great job making the best of a really difficult situation last year. I was really impressed with our community putting together the parade for our 8th grade students. I know that was a highlight for many of them. And we recorded the graduation ceremony, and we were able to get signs to the graduates. We also know it's important that they have a chance to have some type of in-person interaction, and that's allowed this year. Last year, we weren't even allowed to have that. So Mr. Youngberg and Mrs. Basie and I, a couple weeks ago, we went over to Richards High School to meet with Dr. Jacobson, the principal there, who has always been outstanding with us and couldn't have been more accommodating, and said, whatever you guys need that can legally fit under the guidelines, we will make sure that we do that for you. So we do always appreciate that. And so what we're really looking at are 2 different options. The one, we would love to have a normal graduation ceremony where you have our 150 kids and all the parents and their family. We wouldn't be able to do that within the numbers that they currently have, just in a gym that size. So one of the options that we're looking at is splitting it up into 2 graduation ceremonies, where you'd have kind of the one alpha slice go at 5 o'clock, the other go at 7 o'clock, and then you would basically, each kid would be able to have 2 adults who would be able to attend. Drawback of that, obviously, not all the kids are together, but trying to find a way to do that with having any type of audience is going to be very difficult. And I know in talking with Mr. Youngberg and Mrs. Bazian, we want to find a way to at least allow our 8th graders to have one day at the end of the year, whether it's a field day or something where they're outside and we can bring them all together. Because when you think about it, they have not been together one day this entire year as an 8th grade class. So we at least want to offer something for them. And knowing our Findlay staff, they will come up with an awesome day for these kids. So I'm really excited for that. So that's one option of doing the alpha slice. The other option, and it's really what Richards has done, and I believe what they are looking at doing this year, and that's to have really, really quick private ceremonies about 5 minutes long, where the student can have up to 10 family members accompany them into their theater, which is a beautiful theater. And they walk across the stage, they get the diploma handed to them. If they want a family member to hand the diploma to them to make it a little more special, they're able to do that. It would be a lot of work for our staff. We'd be there pretty much all day. The one advantage to that is it's a little more personal, and it also allows more family to celebrate with them. So those are the two things that we're looking at. And the reason we haven't made a decision yet is really has to do with the numbers in the state right now. Even with our plan of dividing it into alpha slices into 2 different classes, if we have to go back to tier 1 mitigation, and I was on a Cook County Department of Health webinar, and they say they're not there yet, but we're definitely moving possibly in that direction, then even slicing it into 2 different ceremonies, we would not be able to do that under those mitigations. So I would love to announce and say, this is exactly what we're doing, but we're still like 7 weeks out. And I think that we really have to watch to see, but those are right now the 2 options that we're strongly considering. And just wanted to open it up to any questions, but wanted to inform the board and anyone who's listening out there what we're looking at. Any questions on graduation? All right, well, graduation to me is a very exciting topic. The next one I can't say is as exciting. 3.6, which is our IAR testing, required for us to give it to our students. Mrs. Egan asked a very good question at the last board meeting, and that was, what would happen to us? What would be the penalty if we did not give these tests? And I reached out to the ISC4, Dr. Vanessa Kinder, and she said she is not aware of any penalties that are out there, but as far as she knows, we would be just about the only district not giving it in some way. We want to make this as least disruptive as possible. We're going to start giving this test on April 26th. I know the principals and assistant principals and secretaries have already reached out to our remote students to see when they'd be able to come in, because, and I shared this at the last meeting, I do not see that this providing us with any valid data. Some schools are going to be giving the test in the fall. Some are going to be giving it in the spring. You're going to have many students who aren't taking the test. You're not going to be able to compare it to really anything that's going to be useful. Now, the one area that we do want to make sure we gather the data is on the MAP test. And that's why we want to give IAR in a couple weeks, so that we still can give a break in between that and the MAP testing, so that that's not all our students are doing is testing, because that's not why they're here. I'm still proud that we've had kids in since October 19th, but I'm not proud that they're going to be spending this time doing their testing. So that's kind of what our schedule is looking at right now. Mrs. Egan?
Can I ask if the schools will be notifying parents to specific days that grade levels will be testing? Because I think in general, it's usually, and I could be wrong, but I feel like in the past, it's just been like testing starts next week and not which days they're actually testing.
Yes, and I believe most of our kids will be starting that test that same day and kind of testing through, but I can definitely talk with our administrators to make sure people know that. Because
So 3rd through 8th grade will all
people
test
on
at
whether
the
or
same
not-
time?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
3rd grade through 8th grade will all test at the same time?
That's what we're looking at. Yes, we have enough devices to do that now, which we
And
have.
enough bandwidth to do that?
Could you repeat that?
Enough bandwidth to do that as well?
I have been told we do.
Okay. So I'm sorry, is then the schedule during a week like that they will just take all, like every day the three math or what is it? 3 math and 2 ELA. So Monday through Friday of one particular week will all be testing, or is it going to be broken up?
That's what we're looking at right now. We had an admin meeting before this and they're tweaking a few things on the schedule, but our hope is to get as much of that testing done that week and then move on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. There might have to be a few coming over because our 5th graders also have to take the science test, which is free 1-hour tests as well. So we're trying to play with the schedule to see, again, how we can minimize the disruptions, but we will let the parents know when that will be. Mrs. Egan?
Kind of off topic, but you said 5th grade and we were just talking about graduation. So it triggered, what is going to happen with the 5th graders with a step up day? Has that been talked about yet?
Yes, that was actually on our agenda today as well. We are looking right now in the spring to have it still a virtual one where our junior high teachers will be available to meet with all the kids. And then we've talked about not only for our 6th graders coming over to junior high, but our 7th graders and what will be our 1st graders who have never stepped foot in their new schools. Some of our kindergartners have never been here. Some of our 6th graders this year have never stepped foot in the junior high. So to make sure we have things for them right before the school year starts next year. All right, perfect segue when we were asking about bandwidth. We are looking at our student Chromebooks, and as you know, we have sent our Chromebooks home now for about 1.5 years, and they have gotten a lot more use from those. And historically, we've been on a 4-year replacement cycle. This was established when we were only using them in school a couple days a week, not when they were being brought back and forth and being used every single day. So we've been looking with our Title I money, how many we can replace and what types of Chromebooks we would want to replace them with. So we had Gino really kind of go through and do some quotes for us, and he looked at ASUS, and really they're a little bit more durable. They're rated where if they fall off a student desk, they should be durable enough not to break every time. The ones we currently have would smash into a few pieces. So the quote was at $249.55 for those Chromebooks, and an additional $19 for tamper-resistant keyboards, which we find out kids love to do. They love to pull off the keys on the keyboard. It's one of their favorite fidget activities. So it would be an extra $19 for that. There was also an HP quote for $225, but again, we feel the ASUS is really a better option for us. We would be looking at 540 Chromebooks this year to kind of put in the replacement cycle. Some of them are definitely on their last legs, and that comes to a total of $134,757, again, which would be taken out of Title I funds. And then we would also need to purchase 18 carts to house the new Chromebooks at about $15,600. We've talked about what our replacement cycle is going to look moving forward, and we're still talking about that, but especially with knowing how beat up these Chromebooks have become. And we talked about that last year. We knew that was going to be what would happen. We haven't really lost any. I've been really impressed that we haven't lost too many, but they are just getting beat up from everyday use. So we would ask for an approval on those Chromebooks later today. And then under other, I actually, for once, I have 2 things under other, which I usually don't. The first one is, unfortunately, for the 2nd year in a row, we were not able to have our recognition time over at Gaelic Park. But tomorrow I will be going around into each classroom with the building principals and presenting our certificate and our gift for our staff for their years of service. We don't have anyone actually set to retire this year, but we do have those that we'll be honoring. So I'm glad that we can at least do that in person tomorrow, whereas last year they had to be mailed out. So I'll be doing that with the principals tomorrow. And then all of our school board members here receive their book, and those of you at home will be getting those, I believe, tomorrow. This is the Lemonade War, which we kicked off yesterday. It's our District 1 book. If you were on Twitter at all, you got to see some of the kickoff party. If you walk through the halls, I was over at Central today and was almost hitting my head on these lemons that were hanging from the ceiling. The kids seemed really excited. I'm glad that we were able to kick this off. And I'm hopeful that this is something we'll be able to continue. I know the library is interested in partnering with us once their construction is done and really making it a whole community thing, not just our district, but we're really excited for it. But you do have homework, and we'll send home what chapters you get to read, but we're looking forward to it. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, the first item is our construction update. No, I'm on mute. Okay. We good? Okay, so over spring break, we were able to do a little bit of our construction project to give us a jump start on what's going to be happening over the summer. And happy to report that all the door closers have finally been installed at all buildings, and roof repairs went very well at the schools. The weather was lovely, so I think they worked all of the 6 days that we had them here. And then they also started on the lighting replacement. And actually, if you walked into the district office, it is beautifully lit. It's so bright in there. It really adds something. And they're continuing to work in the buildings in the evenings. So most likely that project will be ahead of schedule. So really happy to report that they got some work done there. And then also later in the meeting, we'll be asking the board to approve the final payment for the fire alarm panel. If you remember, that was done several months ago, but they're finally giving us our final payment. So you'll see that on the agenda for later. And the next item on the agenda is classroom furniture. And we've been talking about this for a long time now. And we keep going back and forth, and we've really put poor Corey over there through the ringer. Every time he gives us a proposal, I ask him for something different. And he's going to talk about the prototype furniture that we are going to propose for Ridge Central and Ridgeline. And what this is it is just prototype furniture, but unfortunately, because of the market and the manufacturers, we actually do have to purchase this furniture. When we started this conversation well over a year ago, our hopes was to kind of test drive and borrow the furniture. Unfortunately, because of demand and supply, we're not able to do that. So Corey is going to present several different options. You'll see different chair options, desk, table options for the elementary schools. And then we would purchase that over the summer with the caveat that once it's delivered, we would have 30 days to return that furniture. Because what we have to remember, this is just test furniture. We might be buying something that really doesn't meet the needs of our students and staff, and we don't want to be stuck with that. So we do have that flexibility. And then also Corey's going to present, or at least talk about Findlay Junior High. We're not as far along in that process as we would like to be, because currently Findlay has tables, and with the 3 feet restraint between students shoulder to shoulder, we've really been doing our best to get different configurations. And so he's going to share with you some pictures and some renderings of all of that information. So so we're asking, I'm going to turn it over to Corey.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, so like Kathy had mentioned, like I'll be presenting a couple of the options that we've shown, that we've discussed over the last several months for Ridgeline and Central, both the pre-K through second grade options and then the third through fifth grade options at both the schools. Along with that, there are several different layouts that that we're presenting as well. Now, obviously, with the furniture being as mobile as it is, there's hundreds of layouts, so I couldn't present them all, but the majority of the layouts was what we'll show this evening. So what you see in front of you is a Ridgeline, a pre-K through second grade. So what you'll see is all these tables, they're two per table, 2 students per table. And actually, I'll give you kind of a floor plan below it as well. So general arrangement of the room, you'll see these 2 whiteboards along the back wall. Those are your existing whiteboards. So there's kind of a track that attaches to the top of these whiteboards. And then these 3 or 6 smaller whiteboards, those are portable boards, which can be used with the students for other presentation purposes. They actually can hang in these little slots to split the table into 2. They can also hang on the sides of these tables here. So multiple different options. We have an A-frame stand, which these portable whiteboards can stand on as well. So you can move this around at various different parts of the room to display student work and have discussions about what each student has been working with, as well as moving the teacher around as well. You'll see a couple different color chairs. Those are indicative of 2 different types of seating options. There's for the pre-K through second grade, there's the gray chairs are more for, you can sit in 4 different options. Obviously, the back to the back, you can sit to each side, you can sit with the back in front of you. Just giving just various different options for the seating. The orange chairs are more of a standard, just sit straight. Obviously, you can sit either side as well, but just giving the teachers and students just separate as your typical main source of seating. We also have what you'll see, these little, what they're called lily pads, or little foam cushions for story time, for carpet time, for things like that, for a calendar. Those can be arranged however you want throughout in its own circle area for their own activities as well. You'll see 3 stools as well. Those have a very, very, very slight lean to them. I'm not going to say it rocks, but there is definitely a sturdiness to them. Again, just providing as much seating options as possible. And you also see a couple soft seating options as well, a couple ottomans here at the bottom of the room here. And then the last different chair seating option is these small little recliners. Now they're fixed, but they are more of a relaxed, and honestly, in a lot of the this age classrooms that we provide them, those are the most popular. Those go first. So showing how this room arranged is more or less, they're grouped into, there's one larger group of 8, then other different groupings of 4. You can see the ottomans here with the lily pads kind of focused around here, and then a separate group of here for giving the students several different options and ownership of their classroom, how they want to move around and how they want to group. Now, all these tables are on lockable casters, so they're easily locked, easily unlocked, and moved around in quick order. The teacher's desk here, also there's a teacher's desk, and this lectern is movable as well, separately, so each can be moved around and throughout the day. So what you'll notice is more or less everything is mobile. Now, the virtually the same exact type of furniture is provided at Ridge Central. Different finishes, different colors, just give a little more difference about it. But as you'll see, the same Same general layout for this at Ridge Central. This one, it will still have the same tracks that sit up atop of the existing whiteboard. The whiteboard's not shown here, but it does fit on top of the existing whiteboard. And this is where we show kind of two different layouts that can be used, more of a circle for larger group activities. Also, these can obviously be put in rows and in individual seats, so be it, but and larger lecture type spaces as well. So in the bottom one on the lower right here, we have all of the lily pads kind of in a corner. So beginning of the day, the room could be set up like this. You can do your morning calendar on the lower left and then immediately move to the tables and vice versa, or have a combination of the two throughout the day and multiple options here. Before I move on to the 3 through 5th grades, are there any questions with regards to the early childhood, younger grades?
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Mrs. Egan.
Okay, so what you're showing here for both Ridge Lawn and Ridge Central, are every classroom going to look exactly identical? Or are these the options that are available?
So right now, these are just simply pilot furniture. So this will only be one classroom at Ridge Central and one classroom at Ridge Lawn for this group. Now, the intention of this pilot purpose is if after the 30 days you absolutely love it, we could honestly order these as the final layout for years 2 or years 3, or however the district would propose to choose that way. If some of these tables you don't like, some of these soft seating options you don't like, the lily pads, chairs, you name it, you don't like, that's the kind of the benefit of it. We have the time frame to return and make a change.
Okay, so I forgot about the pilot option since it didn't happen this year. I forgot that was still going to happen. So what you're showing in both classes, I mean, what's in the renderings here, the tables with the chairs, you have enough chairs and table space for every student, but in like a research-based traditional class or flexible seating, you would not have a table and chair for everybody. You would have all of these other options. You wind up with like more furniture than kids. So I'm just wondering if that is in fact the plan, a table and chair for every student plus the additional pieces. That's one part. I have a couple questions.
So I believe there's anywhere between 24 to 32 students per classroom at the younger ages. Don't quote me on that. So to answer your question, with this pallet furniture, there are more different seating options per student. So as of the one you see right in front of you, there's only 24 tables and 24 chairs. So there will be a mixture with this option. To provide, basically, let's talk about this itself. The lily pads to fit 32 and the table and chairs to fit 32, that would obviously not be sustainable for the whole classroom. So this is giving you each option to figure out how you like to work. If this is great and you always have some students in tables, some students not have tables, that's fine as well. And obviously maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have kids in tables, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, they don't have the tables. The benefits of the portable whiteboards, they can be used as lap desks as well.
Okay, so with the types of chairs that you're showing, half of them are like a traditional chair and half of them are, you said you could sit in all 4 directions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is that the idea, that you would have half and half like it's shown here?
Typically that's how it's done. Really quickly, students are gonna levitate towards one of those options. Maybe some kids prefer just a regular chair. Maybe some kids prefer the chair where they sit in each direction. So
And
it's
then-
providing a choice.
Right. So, but then there's only 3 like wiggle stools that are available. And then in the Ridgeline one, you had 2 floor recliners, but there aren't any here at Central. So, I mean, I guess when I'm looking at this, it's very much a modern classroom, but the options for flexibility and truly trying that out don't necessarily seem to be there.
So these, the 2 little recliners, they do show up in this as well. So we have
Oh,
the,
okay.
but yes, given the options for maybe the students over at Central prefer something completely different than this one. That's why we're still providing somewhat similar of the same options between both of the schools.
Well, no, and I get that. I did wonder why one would have it and one didn't, but so I guess I'm just wondering why there isn't even enough of the other types of furniture to have even a pod of 4 or 5 or 6 kids that could have a wiggle chair, or that could have floor recliner, or that could be on the soft ottomans that are there. Like why so many tables and chairs? That is what it comes down to.
It's still the preferred way of learning, obviously. We're trying to provide as many options as possible. Could we take a couple of these tables out and add more of the stools? Potentially. It's taking a step towards a more progressive approach here. But so this is when we had the discussions with the teachers way back, I believe, many months ago. It was still the agreement on these kinds of options were I'm not going to say consensus, but more agreed upon. Last time we spoke, maybe about a month ago at the board meeting, we didn't even have some of these stools or some of the recliners or some of these options. So we listened to you and we provided additional options.
No, I see that, Corey, and I definitely appreciate that. I guess this is more for Adam in terms of, where is the, I understand teachers are more comfortable in tables and desks, and especially after this particular year. But if we're truly looking to pilot other options and have teachers kind of pioneering what this could look like to allow kids choice in where they're going to sit for the day and or half a day, or, however they choose to do that. When you have a full classroom of tables and desks, you're just going to have, it just looks cluttered and overcrowded. When everybody needs a space, and perhaps you need a little bit extra space, but it just, and I'm just wondering where the, if there's any plan for teachers to have in service, or there are teachers who are already researching and they're super interested in this. Because I mean, really, it just seems to me this is a very modern classroom, and it's not fitting the bill for truly flexible seating by just adding in a couple of pieces. And this is a huge amount of money to spend to just add in a couple of pieces.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're up against for this year is trying to make sure that we're still able to get some of that flexible seating in there, with also still with the assumption that it's going to be a 3-foot distance that we've got to be able to still contain. But I do want us to make sure that we're trying out all these things, because I think we all know how it feels to sit in a desk and a chair. Not every kid has had the chance to sit on a kind of a wiggle stool before. So it's something we do need to make sure that all of our kids get to try, our teachers get the chance to experience how it impacts the learning in a positive way.
So, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about having to be 3 stupid feet apart again for next year, but I'm glad you said that. I think that's even more reason then to have less furniture in the room. And if you can concentrate on what the different variety should be, and to have, obviously enough seating for all kids, but not all the same seating for all kids. And you can accomplish both things, having extra space and having the flexibility, and then obviously having less furniture in your way by having less things.
So Corey, let me ask you a question. If we were to, let's say, bring in some more of the flexible seating and take away a table or 2, is that going to bring this cost up, or is it going to bring it down? Just for when we're approving costs, but just wanted to know.
Also, all this furniture doesn't necessarily need to fit in one classroom. So we could spread this over multiple classrooms. So let's say the classroom next door, we can probably put some of these tables in there, some of these soft seatings in there as well. So it doesn't look like a factory of just random furniture pieces. So even if there is a 3-foot barrier still in place next year when school starts back in the fall, all this furniture does not necessarily have to be in one room. So we can spread it out and provide several different options for several different teachers as well. So in a perfect world, we would be able to have a full group of students in your classrooms. They'd be able to try out these multiple different seating options. But unfortunately, I can't predict, but I don't foresee that happening at this time.
But I guess I just want to know, so if we decided, let's say, on this example, there's what, 6 pods of tables? Let's say we just took out one of those pods of tables and chairs. Would we be able to add 2 recliners and a wiggle thing for around the same price, or?
Second. Okay, I have a question about doing all this. Maybe we should wait. If we can't even use these in the way they should be used because we have to worry about distance still, why are we doing this right now? Why are we waiting till we can actually use them properly? Move them around, not worry about distance between kids, pair kids up, groups up, whatever. Because every time a kid changes a seat, you gotta be washing these things down. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just
Yeah.
want to.
So.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we are looking at moving ahead, and I do think we would not be able to do this all in one classroom. Just looking at it, it looks great, but with knowing that we're going to probably have the 3 feet, I don't see that as being possible. So I do think we're going to be able to test this stuff out. And one of the reasons we want to get moving on this is we do believe that moving forward, that a lot of this can come from our ESSER money, which does have to be spent by a certain date. So we want to test it out and make sure that it is what we want. And we aren't going to be able to buy all the furniture in 1 year. So if we're able to start and see the things that we really do like, we'll be able to space that out and use those funds at the appropriate time. You have each of the 3 ESSER grants that Kathy will talk about a little bit later. There's a cutoff date each year to spend it. It's not like you can spend it all at the end of 3 years. So, yeah. Kathy?
And I just wanted to add, we asked the same thing, Nancy, is why are we doing this now? And my thought process was, this is something that we started over a year ago. And teachers were willing to go to Batavia and look at furniture with us. And even though we're not going to be able to put all of this furniture in one classroom, it's at least going to give our teachers and our students the opportunity to try it. Just because they try it, once we actually order it, it still could take 6 to 12 weeks, to get in. There's always a lead time. And I'm actually going to throw in, along with the ESSER grant, we were not able to spend a lot of our Title I money grant because of professional development. Historically, we put a lot of professional development in that grant, and we weren't able to spend it. So fortunately, we have money in that grant for the Chromebooks, and we put in a sizable amount in the grant that was already approved for classroom furniture. So if we use part of that for classroom furniture, that really frees up over $100,000 for our capital projects that we have upcoming. So great question. And we certainly asked ourselves that as well.
So moving along, this is over at Ridgeline, one of the grade 3 through 5's options. And I do want to emphasize that these are based upon the smallest classrooms at all the schools. So anything we could add or change would be going towards a larger room. So again, all this furniture would not necessarily be set up in one classroom to start the year off, but this is, in theory, if we could, this is what a potential layout would look like. So similar to the other schools, we have the border along the front with the portable marker boards, similar tables that we have here. Again, everything's on casters. This time we have two desks that can be sit or stand desks as well. So multiple different heights. Similar soft seating with the ottomans, again, easily movable, larger table. And this time we added a couple of the more of a portable ottomans to sit on as well, can moved about. The desk for the teacher is very similar, but in this case, the lectern is attached to it, as you'll see in the back. And then another stool / file cabinet with soft seating on top of it. So that could be moved around as well. A lot of times we'll see the teacher completely abandon the desk and they'll just move around with this and sitting on it at the tables as they facilitate with the students. As you'll see here at some of these tables, the whiteboards are hung off the side. And again, they can be clipped in the middle to divide the students for privacy, for test taking or things like that, or just provide a separate barrier. Again, have the same mega towers for storage for different bins and sizes like that for storage capabilities for the teacher. Here, kind of similar styles with the seating as the early childhood, but in this case, one of these chairs does have the what's called a noodle, so they are a little more move about. And I believe a lot of the teachers absolutely love that option. When we walked through IFB about a year ago, reason why we didn't provide those for early childhood, because they are a little more, have a little more core stability for the older kids that can handle it. But I do believe all the teachers absolutely love that option. So here we're providing it with, again, half of those chairs. Here I think I talked about the stools as well. These are, they do get higher, then you can push them down and get lower. However, they are still sturdy to sit on. And then similar over at Ridge Central, again, basically similar layout. This is in this one we show the A-frame for these whiteboards here, whereas the other one didn't. That doesn't mean you can't move this around and bring it to different classrooms as well, to even classrooms that have the older furniture in it, and just still provide different options for all the teachers to use any of these capabilities. Again, if you want to move around a couple, 2 or 3 tables and maybe 2, 4, 6 of these chairs to different classrooms as well, to give multiple teachers an option as opposed to all in just one spot, those are obviously things that are able to be done. Yes.
For the middle school, what about science? Is this options that we're putting these in the science labs too? Because they do experiment, they do all sorts of stuff in there too. So are we leaving them out of it?
Our junior high conversation is a whole different conversation. But yeah, this is just the elementary.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead too fast.
That's all right.
Just, you can answer it later.
And again, showing you just multiple different options. There are options that are similar that can be done with the early childhood, but again, showing kind of in rows here, a larger group. They can be individualized. Again, obviously these are 2 students per table. Tables can be put off to the side. These tables are not the flip nest. They are the flat, so they can't be flipped and nested, but there are multiple options for each of these classrooms. So are there any questions regards with the 3 through 5 grades? So each of these have at least 4 or 5 different seating options to spread about. And again, maybe a student doesn't sit in one of these chairs all day. Maybe for the first couple hours, they sit in one of the flavors, then move to one of the noodles, move to a soft seating, and move about. Different days, different options, different activities. Then when it comes to the middle school, we did have some initial layouts that we provided as well. We did revise those based on comments we heard from last month. However, the tables we are sitting at right now, these are the tables all throughout Findlay. They do not allow us to fit the amount of students that we need in the classrooms on day one when it starts with 3-foot shoulder-to-shoulder rule. So we kind of backed off of providing a true pilot classroom for that. And instead we've provided some options, which I believe are in your board packet, for about 450 units that are individual tables. So over at Findlay, they do have 2 of the similar tables that we have that are presented in those options itself. One is very, very similar to the table that we presented as part of the pilot, but it is a stagnant table. Stagnant as in it's flat, it does not flip and nest how we initially provided. It is a 30-inch wide table. It is on casters, it's still lockable, and it does fit the needs that Mr. Youngberg and Ms. Bison did have a chance to look at it as well. Another of the option, more or less expensive, was the Smith Systems interchange, which does have a typical desk with a storage option that goes underneath of it. And I believe that is of a lesser cost. I think that's also a 30-inch wide table. We do have pricings for those to provide an individual desk for all students that would be in that at that school. So with that recent development and discussing with a couple of teachers that did visit IFB, was kind of using the chairs that we had discussed as using as part of the pilot, and you'll see that as a, oh, nope, I'm sharing something else. Give me a second. So what you'll see here is the green chair and the storage underneath. That was the chair that was going to be provided, or one of the chairs that was going to be provided as part of the pilot program. This, along with a 39-inch wide desk that was going to be flip-topped and nestable. With the sizes of those as presented, those would exceed the sizes that would be required to basically house all students in one classroom or in the school itself. So this was one of the options that was shown way back in May, and with the tablet table that is attached to it. So this is one of the options that we might be looking at, kind of looking to the board for some of their ideas with regards to this. Now, this tabletop here, the attachment is 12 inches wide by about 22.5 inches wide. So as you'll see, it's a lot smaller than a typical writing surface. The desks that we're providing as part of the quotes in the packet are 19 inches deep by about 30 inches as wide. So you're looking at significantly less work surface.
So Corey, I'm hearing you right. Our biggest struggle right now is in the junior high, we have all these tables that normally we have 2 students sit at a time. We can't do that, even close to that, in the 3-foot model. These chairs, I know our junior high teachers really liked when they went. Would these chairs without the flip ups, would that fit one of these regular tables? I guess would be my question.
To answer your question, Dr. Thorns, yes, it would. So either of those tables that we have provided in that quotation, the chair without the tablet top surface there would fit with those tables. Would it fit all the way underneath so the back touches the front of the table? No, it would not, but that would never really actually be used in that way anyway.
The things we're trying to balance with our junior high is knowing that we have to buy something for next year. Kathy has been doing a really nice job of calling other business managers in the area and seeing if anyone is trying to sell some of their older desks, just so we're not paying a full price for new stuff. We haven't been able to find a complete set at this time. The price, I believe, in your board packet is just for the tables themselves. It is not for the chairs. So one of the options we can also look at is having to purchase the desks itself and maybe start purchasing some of these in almost like a pilot program as well, to see if that's something we want to go all in on. But we do have to go ahead and make sure we have something for us to be able to start, because we can fit, Sammy has been coming in and Phil and measuring in the junior high by putting these tables and these desks. And you can, in some of our classrooms, you can get about 8 of these distance at 3 feet a piece. Whereas when you bring in the desk, you're looking at closer to 20. So we are going to have to do something. It's just trying to determine what our best options are in the short run and for many, many years to come.
We can't hear her.
We don't have any small ones anymore. No, Mrs. Salzer is referring to the small classrooms.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes, very good.
Oh, yeah, he's been here for a long time.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I said, right over here, just down the hall, that's really small. But
Adam, we can't hear
If you can
anything going
unmute it,
on
I
there.
believe Mrs. Egan is trying. Go ahead, Mrs. Egan.
We can't hear anything you guys are talking about.
Mrs. Salzer is just saying how our very, very small classrooms that we have in different parts of the junior high really make it difficult for us to be able to fit much furniture in there at 3 feet. And again, that's why I think we have to make sure we're figuring out what we can do next year. This furniture is not cheap. Any of it is not cheap, but also making sure that we can find something flexible enough that we can still use it in the future and not just as a throwaway after a few years, because I don't think anybody can afford that.
So the desks that we're not seeing pictures of that you're talking about, are they like, can you put them together in order to form groups when that is safe and allowable? Or are they just like what our desks are now, which are really clunky when you try putting them together?
So I believe Corey's thrown up an example of the desk that we were looking at.
So that looks like what the elementary schools have currently.
Yes, that's almost exactly what we're looking at. Yep.
Okay. Are there table options that are being looked at rather than desks? I don't understand why the junior high would go back to elementary school desks.
Because we need to have the desk just for next year to be able to space at 3 feet. It's not, we have to be able, we can't have large furniture in there and expect to be able to get our kids in there as well.
Right, but there are many table options that are individual that can be, I mean, what he's showing right now, I see, even those, though, those look pretty wide versus being able, go ahead.
And I'm sorry, and Mrs. Egan is correct. What Corey is showing now is our original picture of our junior high with tables. The only issue with this is what we're looking at, we're 39 inches, and we realized that we had to downsize to 30 inches. So you are correct. This is what we're looking at. So they're tables and they certainly can be combined to do a collaborative workspace.
But there have to be other options that are not 39 inches that are collaborative like this. I mean, I know for a fact there are. My school was just filled with them over spring break. So I know that there are other options where they can be tables and pushed together at some point in the future, but are only probably 24, maybe 30, but I think they're even smaller than that, than 30. Rather than going back to a whole hunky desk that will never push together nicely to work together.
And when Studio GC sent over 2 tables to bring over to Finley, Mr. Youngberg actually sat at the table because we were really trying to get a feel for, you know, who could sit at these tables. And the 39-inch seemed a little bit wide. The 30 ideal for a junior high. I think we all felt that the 24-inch table or desk would be a little too small. So that's how we settled on the 30-inch.
But perhaps 30-inch tables, not just those clunky desks that would be available, right?
Ms. Egan, this table you see right here, that is rendered as a 39-inch table. The other option, as opposed to the desk that looks like the elementary school, is the same style. It is just 30 inches wide. So it's a lot less wider than it is than what you see in this picture. But this picture is very, very similar to what the table would be provided, just smaller.
But these big chairs would not fit at the 30-inch tables.
They would fit at the 30-inch table. They wouldn't fit all the way underneath, but it's extremely perfectly comfortable. So I know you're not at the board meeting today, but it's be similar to me sitting at this table right here with these tables with the arms. So perfectly enough comfort to sit back, to sit underneath as much as possible. It just the backs of the tables would not be able to, the backs of the chairs would not be able to fit flush with the backs of the tables.
Okay.
So Kathy, I know we have the agenda item. What exactly are we looking to approve for the this evening?
Actually, I'd really be asking the board to table the action item on the junior high. We really thought we had it set, and then we kind of forgot about these different types of chairs. So I did speak with Corey prior to our meeting, and we feel relatively confident that if we do wait another month for board approval, that we would still have these in enough time to open school. Ideally, I would love to have something for you guys to approve tonight, but I don't feel comfortable with that.
What I would ask is that maybe before the May meeting, if we could have examples. I know you have some, but like if we can have a chair and just have it here so people can sit in it if they want and see it and touch it, I think that would be very helpful.
Are we unable to approve the amount that was on the agenda, given some flexibility in terms of what can be ordered for that amount? Or is that not a good idea?
That is an excellent idea. What we could do is we could make a motion and we would adjust the motion to the verbiage, general verbiage, to approve the purchase of Finley Junior High furniture not to exceed. We could always take that route and use the 147,000 that's in there not to exceed.
But if we say not to exceed, does that close the door to being able to open it back up next month if that was not, like, did not provide enough?
Oh, no, certainly not. Then let's say we get a quote and it's $250,000. Then we would come back to the board to approve the remaining quote. But that would certainly get things rolling in terms of manufacturing and ordering.
Corey, do you have anything else? Okay. And Mrs. Salzer has a question?
With the desk on it. You know, these are the same chairs basically, but that one has the side desk, am I right? Does that go up and down for multiple uses?
It does. It does flip up. You can put down, you can start away, it moves horizontally. It's very
So you can use that and then put it down and then put it right under a desk. Will that work? There, on the one side, there might be a block where it won't go. Okay.
And with the idea with this chair, is it that the tablet is not enough workspace? Is that what was decided?
That was the initial thought of moving away from the style of the table.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate all your work you put into this. Yep. Kevin?
Okay, thank you. Okay, now on to the remaining items on E-rate contracts. This was the first year for our Category 2 renewal. Category 2 lasts for 5 years. So the district will be allocated $244,000 in E-ratable equipment and services. And so this is the time of year we ask the board to approve those contracts. We're looking for 2 different approvals. The one would be with DialPath, and DialPath is our current IT managed service company. And that is for some equipment and installation to bring us a little bit more current and a little more consistent with our equipment. And then another contract is with YBot. And what YBot is, it is a managed service that actually goes through and monitors our wireless networks. So we'll be asking the board to approve those amounts in their entirety. The DialPath is $35,151.49. And the second is $9,930. But what I want to stress is, since it is E-ratable, the district will only be responsible for 15% of that. This, the remaining 85% is paid through the E-rate program. And then the next item is the interest earned on our fund balances. So the interest earned for this quarter was $58,190. And the cost associated with those earnings was $17,265. So fortunately, we have some very healthy fund balances, and the Worth Township Treasurer Office does a fabulous job at investing that money for us. And then the next one is operation and maintenance equipment purchase. We had our maintenance engineer kind of do an inventory of our equipment. And every year we do put budgeted money into O&M, because just like our things at home, they get broken, they get obsolete. So we're looking into purchase 3 scrubbers that are used on a daily basis. And there is a cost benefit to buying 3 at once. We are getting a little bit more of a deal. And the existing equipment varies in age, anywhere from 5 to 8 or 9 years. So even though that equipment that's a little bit newer at the 5 years, we would not discard that. It's still working. It's just not working as effectively and efficiently. But would be really nice, though, is to have that extra equipment during the summer, because right now only 1 custodian can operate at a time, because we only have 1 machine. So we'll be asking the board to approve that later in the evening for a total of $28,891, and that is for 3 individual machines. Okay, the next thing is the American Rescue Plan came out in March. And what that is, it was a law signed by our president, and he is giving money to the states for education. And the schools are getting 90% of $5 billion. And this is very similar to our original, what we originally called CARES grant. And then now we're working on ESSER 2. We've been meeting with the building administrators to kind of put together a framework on how we're going to spend that money. Well, now they've actually come out with ESSER 3. And the grant is not available yet. So once we firm up ESSER 2, we have to switch gears and now come up with a framework for ESSER 3, which is actually larger than ESSER 2. And so that is going to, it's a little bit more restrictive than ESSER 2 because it does dictate that 20% of it has to be used specifically for addressing learning loss. So a lot of curriculum, summer school, some requirements there. And so the grant application will open up in July. So as soon as this open, we will certainly apply for it. In this grant, we will spend the money through September 30th of 2023. So now we have 3 of the ESSER grants and they all fall off a year at a time. So as that gets closer, we'll be working on that grant. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, the last thing I have is open kitchens. This is the time of the year that our renewal is due. And if you recall, we went out for bid for our food services program just 2 years ago. And overall, I really feel we've been very happy with open kitchens this year, and was a little bit crazy as with the end of last year because we had to switch to a grab and go. And I have to tell you, open kitchens has been very, very accommodated in terms of flexibility. When we have a student improvement day and no students are going to be in here remote learning, they are now packaging a 2-day meal for those students to take home on Tuesday. Anything we've really asked in terms of flexibility, they've really stepped up, and granted, they want our business, but they've been very responsive to us. And every year written into the contract, they have the ability to ask for an increase, and they are asking for the maximum allowable, which is 3.9%, and a little bit higher than historical, but I do feel it is a fair increase because they actually sent us documentation that they got from their vendors, and their costs are actually exceeding 3.9% increases. So I'll be asking the board later in the meeting to renew that contract with Open Kitchens. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, that is all.
Kathy,
I'm sorry, Mrs. Egan.
do you, have you tried to negotiate that number at all, or you're just recommending to just agree to it? The percentage increase?
No, we did not negotiate it because that is what they're legally, they can ask for 3.9. That is the maximum. So no, we did not negotiate that amount.
But they can ask, that doesn't mean you have to. Like, that's what I'm asking. It sounds like that leaves room for negotiating and saying, you know what, we're okay with 3%, but not 3.9.
You know, I'd really have to go back and look at the contract. That's a great point. The contract might read that we can allow for, it's called a food cost home away. So I can certainly go back and look at that verbiage. We might be obligated to do the 3.9%, but I will certainly research that.
Okay, the way you were phrasing it made it sound like it was open to negotiations. So if that's not the way it's written, then
I'm not too sure. I'll go back and reread the contract. And that is certainly nothing that we have to approve at this meeting. We could also table that and go back and readdress that next month.
Okay. 6.1, potential board action to approve contract with Diopath in the amount of $35,151.49. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Egan,
aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle. And Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.2, potential board action to approve contract with Weebot Incorporated for the amount of $9,930. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, Mary.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.3, potential board action to approve summer school ramp-up program. Motion.
I'll make the motion, Mary.
I'll second.
I have Ms. Davenport on the second for that. Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman. That was an aye from Mr. Hillman. Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.4, potential board action to approve summer professional development with all things literacy. Motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Egan on the second. Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport, Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle, and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.5, potential board action to approve stepping stone contract for .6 FTE speech services.
I just wanted to jump in on this one. We talked about this position at March's board meeting. This is to kind of fill in some of the spots for the remainder of the year. We've used Eisenhower Cooperative as much as we could, but because we haven't been able to bring our speech students in as larger groups, we do have some time that still needs to be filled. So that's what this contract is for.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Lammle. Aye. Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
Thank you. Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.6, potential board action to approve final payment to Beeliner Lean Services in the amount of $51,979. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
We're ready.
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle, Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.7, potential board action to purchase custom furniture from Interiors for Business for Ridgeline Ridge Central in the amount of $71,660.45. Motion.
I'll make the motion.
My understanding is the motion has been amended to not
that
exceed
one.
a certain amount. Is that correct?
That one, that was for Finley Junior
Was
High,
it
not the
next one?
elementary.
Okay. Then I'll second that
I'll make the
motion.
motion. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Egan,
We have a
Aye.
second.
we have a second from Ms. Davenport. Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle, and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. On 6.8, we want to add not to exceed.
Yeah, I would suggest it read potential board action to purchase furniture from Interiors for Business, Inc. for Finley Junior High, not to exceed $147,969.45.
Okay, motion.
I'll make the motion as Dr. Thorne's just read.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.9, potential board action to purchase Chromebooks from IT Savvy LLC, the amount of $134,757. Motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second. Thanks, Teresa.
I'm sorry, was that Mrs. Lamb on the second? Thank you. Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. 6.10, potential board action to purchase Chromebook carts from IT Savvy in the amount of $15,595.94.
I'll make the motion. Mary.
Mrs. Callan on the motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle, and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. We're going to table 611. Okay, 611 is tabled. Oh, we got one more. Sorry, we got 612. Potential board actions to purchase 3 floor scrubbers from Expert Chemical in the amount of $24,891. Motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Sorry.
If Mrs. Lammle on the motion, I need a second.
Mary, second. Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Callan. Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle, Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Opportunity for visitors to speak. Would anybody like to say anything? Okay, I think we're good. Okay, President's prerogative. I'm just gonna keep it short. I know there's a lot going on. We've extended our time by a few minutes. I wish we could do a full day. That's not happening yet. But keep on doing what you're doing, guys, because you're doing a fantastic job. So hopefully we can open all the way in the fall and go from there. So keep on doing it. Thank you, all of you. Okay, adjourn to closed session.
We're going to adjourn to closed session for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body to determine its validity as defined in the Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees, or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as defined in Section C2. The discussion of minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act is defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not be discussing any security measures, student discipline, or litigation this evening. We will need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Callan,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport, Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the live stream for now, and pause it. We'll be ready in about 5 or 6 minutes.